You're listening to the Divine Timing Podcast, a weekly spiritual information station where souls check in, spirit speaks up, and energy gets the attention it deserves, all served with love and laughter. Come for the insight, stay for the laughs, and leave just a little brighter. Hey, thanks for tuning in to Divine Timing. I'm Dr. D. I'm going to start today's episode by reminding you that you have been surviving this month's big energy. You have survived 100% of all your hard days. So don't underestimate how strong you really are. In this week's frequency forecast, which I'm going to remind you tells us from an energetic standpoint what's going on in the cosmos, it is more strong energy. We have a push-pull energy coming in, a lingering eclipse, full moon wake up that flavors practical cleanups and habit changes, while Mars and Venus transit encourages creative risk-taking in relationships and projects. So plan on some important edits to your health routines and practical decisions around the eclipse's fallout, using the Mars-Venus drive to start one bold, visible move. This is in alignment with the job shifts that a lot are experiencing right now and that we're seeing in the headlines that we talked about last week. So with the eclipse full moon in Virgo, we saw some life edits, some routine resets. So expect clarity about what's not going to work in daily life anymore. And it's a good time to start streamlining your systems and drop those small draining habits, those small things that aren't working for you anymore, that when you add them up, they are one big gigantic energy drain. Then we have Mars moving through Pisces, which this is action guided by intuition. So momentum is softer but imaginative. So schedule some creative work in some focused windows and protected time for yourself, some reflection. If you've never meditated before, now is the perfect time to start. Then we have a Venus in Aries transit, which is relationship boldness. Social and romantic initiatives get a confidence boost. So when Venus moves direct, okay, these asks are more favored, right, to have that relationship boldness, Venus being the planet that affects humanity's love, okay? So now that you know how the energy is supporting you universally, let's move on to the Dear D segment of the week. Now, usually for future episodes, I'm going to pick, maybe one listener may ask a question, but what happened this last week is that I had a bunch of questions coming in from many clients, and how I picked this week's Dear D segment was actually from recognizing the energy pattern coming through in question form. So I have kind of condensed it because it's all surrounding the same thing. So today's question is, Dear D, with the upheaval that is happening throughout most of the world right now, people are asking, where's God? Why is this happening? How can a loving God allow so much pain and suffering to happen? Now, this is a great and frequent question, and it's easy to see that fear and suffering are a huge frequency right now. Now, the Creator, God, universe, source, it does not matter what human label we put on it. We are talking about the same conscious energy of divine spirit and creation that is vibrating entirely on a frequency of pure love. I said in my very first episode that all beliefs are welcome and valued here, and I have worked with many people that have trauma around the use of the word God from religious upbringing. So it's okay if you would rather refer to God as creator or source or universe. I simply refer to this divine energy as spirit. And each time that I connect with the divine as it is within and all around us, I've never felt that term is not aligned, but I have found that it is the best way to convey the frequency that I am talking about, that divine frequency of love, without triggering anyone's traumas. I mentioned earlier that the divine consciousness resonates on a frequency of pure love. With that love comes the release of control. The ability for our consciousness to choose for itself. What we do as humans with our free will is entirely up to us. Nothing can interfere with your free will. This is why it is so very important to learn how to use your intuition, which gets information from your soul, your spark of the divine, rather than from your mind where your ego runs the show. And I'm going to have a course available soon to help anyone achieve just that. But your egoic mind will have you believing that you are separated from spirit, when in truth, you're not only connected to spirit, but you were also created from that energy, and you are connected to everything and everyone. You will hear me say a lot that energy cannot be destroyed, only transformed. Your soul is an energetic transformation of spirit, living in a meat suit to experience life and all of its wonders. What you experience, though, is entirely up to you. What frequency you tune into is up to you. You are sovereign in that decision. This is what pure love looks like. Imagine being loved so much that you are free to make your own big, serious mistakes or big, serious choices. And you know what I tell clients all the time? It is only a mistake if you didn't learn from them. You only went through unnecessary suffering if you refuse to reflect and grow from your experiences. Something that folks struggle with a lot who come from a perspective of organized religion is the concept of a loving God that allows so much hate, pain, and suffering to happen. Honey, it isn't spirit allowing it. What you are seeing is others, or what you are seeing in others is free will in motion. What you are experiencing is a reflection of your own frequency. Let's take a look from a spiritual perspective how far our free will goes. I have done many past life regressions for clients, and I do really recommend Dr. Michael Newton's books called Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls on the topic of past life regressions, because his case studies actually match what my clients experience as well. But what the research indicates is that a soul chooses with free will if and when incarnation will happen, and exactly when the incarnation will end, otherwise known as death. Here is another little plot twist. Earth is not the only place within the vast universe that is filled with literal billions of galaxies that a soul can incarnate. It is said to be one of the most challenging, though, so if you're here, consider yourself very brave. If you are here, it is for a purpose, and your soul's mission is to experience life and remember its purpose. Learn its lessons so that it can grow and evolve. But the only way to get authentic, real growth is if those lessons are learned through free will, not by force. This is exactly why therapy doesn't work for people who are forced to attend. Growth must be a choice. What's the point? Well, the point, dear soul, is that you will learn to evolve to progress to the point where you are able to vibrate on the same frequency of pure love from which you came, to align perfectly with creation and be a creator. But that can't happen by force. All souls here are in different stages of development. Think of it like our human development. Some are baby souls just coming here for the first time. You can recognize them because they're often run entirely by their egoic mind. They're usually very self-centered throughout all of their life. And I am sure right now everyone is thinking of at least one example in their life of a very possible new soul. Then there's toddler souls, teenage souls, and so on. This is why you will hear people say sometimes, oh yes, she's only 8, but she's an old soul. Those that have incarnated here many times for many different lessons and reasons are often referred to as old souls right from birth. You are free to let your egoic mind run your experiences. You are free to tune into your soul and let your intuition run your experiences. When we shift into a soul-centered approach to life, things start to really align dramatically in our life. Living becomes easier. The pieces start to fall in place. Why? Because we're divinely guided, and that guidance comes through to our soul. Part of the work that I do with clients is getting them to recognize which aspects of themselves is being steered by the meat suit. Okay? So Are your thoughts, actions, and conversations primarily based from your egoic mind or from a soul-centered space? Who's steering the meat suit, the ego or the soul? Spirit doesn't make harmful things happen. Humans use their free will that will result in consequences. Many times, those consequences affect others too. This means that at any time as a soul, you can choose differently, to vibrate differently, so that you create the highest aligned experience for yourself during this incarnation. The next question I inevitably get is, does this mean when I lose someone special to me that I asked for it or was tuned into that frequency? No. Just like the divine law of free will, there is an inevitable truth that nothing here is permanent. This is a made-up world. This is not home. This means we will all suffer the loss of the physical. God does not take souls. Spirit is not making bad things happen. We come here knowing that this experience of life is only temporary for all of us in the physical. What we struggle with most is when a soul leaves this plane far earlier than the natural order of things. For example, when parents lose children, when a partner loses a spouse before they had a chance to grow old together. The most common thing I hear when working with clients suffering from a loss is, how could God do this? Well, our souls pick when we come here and when we exit. We come here already under contract, if you will, to some major life experiences that our souls need to have in order to learn and grow. It's not for us to know what other souls' divine plan is for their growth. And it is extremely difficult to accept loss, to understand it with our human mind. And that is why there are stages of grief. And these can even be explained in energetic stages as well as we shift into different frequencies of understanding. And yes, sometimes we go in and out of them for quite some time, from acceptance to anger and back and forth. Denial, all of them. Those are different frequencies. In some incarnations, being left behind by someone you were not ready to lose in the physical is a lesson in love and loss. You can't understand the depths of love in its entirety until you have known the depths of pain in its entirety. When we pick just how long we will incarnate, we know that there is life after death. We know that this is a 3D experience on earth and it's not home. Many religions refer to heaven as being the place that souls cross over to. Most souls during regression therapy simply refer to it as the spirit realm or home. But after birth and the great amnesia takes place, which by the way happens for a good reason, because if we remembered everything, if we remembered that this isn't our ultimate home, we would learn nothing, right? So we have to have amnesia to that. But when that happens, when we're born, we lose the comfort of knowing that this is not home. That comfort that we had when we chose to come here, we lose that at birth. So we lose the comfort of knowing that we will see our soulmates, our soul family again. So we create deep attachments to physical life here, which makes losses all that much more painful. I tell you of this perspective not to say that the suffering you may have experienced from a loss or a difficult event in your life is not real. It is very real. I tell it to you to bring back the comfort that was lost when coming into the physical, when you were born. I'm here to help you make sense of why bad things seem to happen to good people. It's not because your destiny's already written or because a spiteful God is testing you, punishing you for your sins, or an evil overlord is running the show. It's because souls have free will, and with that free will comes lessons to be learned, and many times we're experiencing things through the use of how others utilize their free will. This is why even the best tapped-in psychics can be wrong, because they're reading the energy of possibilities, but it's up to the soul to choose. For some, it might feel like they came here to only experience pain because tragic things happen to them that are out of their own control. Like I said earlier, we can't understand pure love until we've experienced the total opposite. And we will continue to draw back to ourselves what we're putting out and things that are a frequency match to us. So if some experiences keep happening, like say poor relationship choices, it's likely because we have set in our soul contract to keep experiencing these things until the lesson is learned and until we can learn to shift into a different vibration. For example, we can imagine what it's like to be a billionaire, right? But until we actually experience it, which few do, we can only guess at what it's really like. It's not the same authentic experience to just guess what it's like. Because if I'm not a billionaire, I can't really buy a yacht full of handsome yes men. I can only imagine what that would be like. By the way, it's fabulous. I have a challenge for you this week. So please take this challenge. When you see others doing things to or around you that you feel compelled to judge or that don't resonate with you, remind yourself that they have free will too. They have soul lessons too. And we can only control our own frequency and what we are tuning into. We can't control others. Spirit can send us messengers, guide us, and nudge us through signs, synchronicities, and sometimes those get so loud that it feels like a spiritual bitch slap. But it's still up to us to follow them. Sometimes others' free will is the lesson for us. We can only cause ourselves more unnecessary suffering if we don't learn the lesson. So let go, then continue to move forward with your life experience. You can start to see what the lesson is meant to be if you start to look for the patterns in how you've been using your free will and what others have done that repeat, and then choose differently. So take that challenge today. Start to see those around you as having free will that you can't control because spirit can't control, and start to look at how you have been utilizing your free will in your life. I hope after today's message you feel a deeper understanding with your soul and other souls. And if you have a question that you'd like answered on air for me, please feel free to email me at divinetiming11@gmail.com. I hope that you remember that you are walking in your purpose and shining in the light. So keep the light on.
I see the stars aligning in the velvet of the night, a map of ancient wisdom written in the silver light. Mercury is moving, but your heart is staying still. You're standing at the threshold of a higher kind of will. The cycle's turning slowly like a wheel within the sky. There is no need to panic or to ask the reason why. Just breathe into the present, let the heavy shadows fall. You're exactly where you're needed, answering the sacred call. Trust the timing of your life and let your spirit lead the way. The universe is speaking in the quiet of the day. Release the fear and find your ground. The soul is taking flight. You're walking in your purpose and you're shining in the light. Your chart is like a promise born the moment you arrive. A blueprint for the magic that is helping you survive. Saturn brings the lessons, but the sun brings out the gold. A story of a destiny that's waiting to unfold. So plant your feet in red clay, let the ancestors speak low. There is a rhythm to the harvest and a time for things to grow. Don't rush the transition or the shedding of the skin. The greatest transformation always starts from deep within. Trust the timing of your life and let your spirit lead the way. The universe is speaking in the quiet of the day. Release the fear and find your ground. The soul is taking flight. You're walking in your purpose and you're shining in the light. cosmos in the chambers of your heart. Trust the timing of your life and let your spirit lead the way. The universe is speaking in the quiet of the day. Release the fear and find your ground. The soul is taking flight. You're walking in your purpose and you're shining in the light.